everybody, welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Mike, we've got some. Woo! That's a good one. We got news coming out of Traverse City. We got news coming out of Canada. We got news coming out of the EA Sports offices. We got news coming out of the Athletic. We got news everywhere. Just news.
Yeah.
Canceled some of our other topics for today because so much happened. I believe at 10:30 this morning they made the announcement that Stevie Y was going to address the media and us fans, and he gave us some content.
Yeah, the state of the Red Wings Union, huh? Yeah.
What's going on, Chewy? Chewy's aboard. Craig, what is up, dude?
What up, Craig?
Yeah, so this is a good day. We're gonna jump. I think we have like the beginning of our show is usually like the malarkey section, and then we'll get into the actual topic of the show. So
don't know what you're talking about, but go ahead.
Malarkey section starts with Mike. Our I shouldn't say my addiction. EA Sports, NHL. I don't know. Is the addiction just me playing it? Is it me buying it every year, even though the game doesn't really improve? What's worse? It's got to be just buying it, right? Because playing it is like, well, you bought it. You might as well play it now. So anyway, they released their top 10 right side defensemen. And just like last week where we were celebrating Moritz Seider being ranked in the top 50 for the NHL rankings, Mo comes in at number 10. With an 87 overall, Mike. Think about it. I mean, we're talking about, if you guys play franchise mode, we're talking about like 94, 95 defensemen.
Yeah, he's like one season of development. Like that is like one of the most tradable contracts. You could probably trade Mo for anybody in the game.
That's right. He's gonna have that contract coming up. You guys are gonna. You could
trade him for. You could trade him for Zegras and a first. You heard it here. What's up, Ken Young?
Ken's aboard. What's going on, Ken? I don't know. For anybody that played the game last year, I was super disappointed once you got into like year 2, year 3, probably year 3 and year 4. Mo kind of, his cap was like 85. Like I couldn't get him past 85, and I tried a couple of times. And then the end of the career was just kind of sad because I didn't want to let go of Mo, but he was
never again, man. Now he's going to be a 96, I guarantee, after one season.
I thought you were going to have to like go take a poop or something with the way you were wagging your finger. Hold, nope.
No, I would have went like this. Oh! That's the signal for
time out. But yeah, that was a very disappointing turnout last year for Mo. Raymond also, Lucas Raymond coming in with an 84 overall on NHL 23 coming out. This isn't anything where it's like, oh no, I'm going to buy it. I was going to buy it anyway. But I'm pretty sure that my Lucas Raymond topped out at 84. So this is just going to be gravy for me. And I'm the guy who plays on rookie for a season so that everybody can, like, the overalls go up a little bit higher. You know, you have like that, everybody puts up like 300 points. I do that. And it still didn't work. I don't know.
I feel like two of the weird like sources of information that I wholeheartedly trust. And I'm going to say 3 so you can kind of get where I'm at on the weirdness scale. 1, journalistic integrity from TMZ. It's a real thing now. We can trust them. Man, it's like over-unders with Vegas. Like I believe them to a T. And it's the people who rank and like put out the overalls for players in this NHL video game, because this is like right on the money, where he hasn't quite earned the top 3 spot, but he's right on the cusp of catching like Dougie Hamilton, who's getting long in the tooth. Like Mo is probably a season away from being in the top 5, if not top 3 of this list.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, that's probably right on the money. Yeah, season or 2. I look at this list. Your top 10, I think you're easily I don't know. I think he nailed it. It's going to be pretty tough to get for anybody to pass Cale Makar. Adam Fox doing quite well too. But if I could, he's on that list of mine where I think you could see a step back or see some struggles. Not with Cale Makar. I think Cale Makar, he's good. He's solid. He's going to turn in Connor McDavid results year after year, where it's just going to be like, oh, well, another Norris Trophy for Cale. But
yeah, it's funny too. This is pretty close to the odds for. I know there's obviously some left side defensemen, but this kind of feels like the who's who of who's up there for the Norris. Like if you want to get an early bid in, on like DraftKings. I can't remember. I think didn't they have to call it like Defensive Player of the Year for the hockey league that plays nationally in the United States?
Wait.
I don't think they could call it the Norris. It was some
for a video game?
No, for DraftKings.
Oh, for DraftKings. God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was searching something on Hockey Reference.
Maybe it was the Stanley Cup. Maybe they called it the Hockey Championship.
I think you might be right because they didn't have like Rocket or anything like that. So yeah, you're probably right on the button there.
So yeah, I don't think anyone would really quibble with these rankings. I think he does need one more season to leapfrog a lot of these guys, but I don't think it's it's definitely in the realm of what we expect in the realm of possibility here shortly.
And we'll quickly mention this because the comments, everybody wants to talk about the press conference today. But part of that press conference, they did bring up, Mike, Canada will likely drop those COVID-19 vaccine requirements, which means Tyler Bertuzzi can come along for the ride.
Tyler can conquer Canada again. Love it.
It was kind of funny. Somebody posted the stats today. It was like 3.26 goals against when we were home against Canadian teams. And then it was like 3.26 goals against average, and then like 3.69 goals against average in Canada. So it was like, and then I think the tweet was like, oh yes, we can finally bring that number down, but like not sarcastically. It's like, those are pretty, I don't know how big a difference it made on the goals against there, but the goals for seem to be lacking a little bit.
Do you feel like, selfishly, we want more competitive hockey games when we go to Canada, and it sucks that one of our best players wasn't vaccinated, right? But this is also huge news for Bertuzzi, who is trying to negotiate a contract, and suddenly all his options are wide open now.
Yeah.
So I think he's obviously going to be excited to play and put up numbers in a contract year, but man, you talk about a guy we've fiddled around with. Do we want to keep him, even though he's been very productive and he's had games where he puts the entire team on his back? Now the opportunities are just wide open, man. I mean, if you want to sign him, there's no longer an obstacle. If you do want to trade him, a whole bunch of teams just became options for that trade.
Dan's up there.
Dan B.
Does this mean Tyler's trade return just went up? Oh, 100% it does. Look, and it's not anything. You can have this conversation and say, hey, my hockey team has options. You don't have to play this game and it always has to be negative when you're getting rid of someone. But now we have options. Options. That's what the Yzer plan has always been about. We've been talking about it since the show started. The key word,
roster flexibility. Absolutely.
That's right. All right. Chewy throwing out there, more Bert. Even if it's not with us, more Bert across the league, right? All right. Nobody wants to hear that. All right. We got our training camp roster today, Mike. I am not going through this list of names. I did call out on Twitter Cedric Lacroix or Cedric Lacroix. Anybody have
Lacroix? It's probably Lacroix.
I was the one when LaCroix got really popular. I would see it in stores and say, "Oh, LaCroix, that sounds really fancy."
I'm also pretty excited for Ivan. As a graduate of Fortson High School in Dearborn, we had many an Ali, Hassan, and now I'm excited to learn more about Ivan.
We got to look up what's the nationality of that. Do we have? Does anybody have a beat, or does anybody know off the top of their head?
Yeah, we got to get our beat writer on that. Matt, I do have a question though. Can you back up to the roster?
Beat as in like, does anybody have a second? God damn you.
Why is Andrew Copp on this list? I thought he was injured.
He is, and actually that was going to be my transition here. Was Dan B thrown out there to open up the press conference. Stevie came out and kicked us in the gut with the Copp news. I mean, he's like, right, like he's probably there, right? And now they know he's not playing, but it's fine. But yeah, we have. Did I make my little list of injuries? Oh, I have my slides up, and I'm just revealing the whole episode to everybody. I ruined the show.
There's the whole sausage. Thanks, Matt.
Abdominal surgery in the off season, and Copp scheduled to be back first week of the regular season. Jake Wallman mid-November. Robbie Fabry, Mark Pysyk expected to return after the new year. Chase Pearson out indefinitely. For personal reasons. Here's your injury update. Not so bad. Knew about a lot of this stuff. Copp is new, but back the first week of the regular season. Odd that we didn't hear back game one. I thought that was an interesting choice of words that everybody was passing around. Back first week of the season. But yeah, I mean, it won't be long, and maybe that means we get a Berggren sighting. Right out of the gate.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of look at those. Take a peek at the tea leaves. Right now that Copp is out, if he doesn't make it to game one, somebody will. And all we've been talking about is how easy it is to cross off some of those names at the bottom, and how much trouble it is trying to fit someone in from Grand Rapids on this team. So injuries are gonna stink. But as I saw, Ken Kell had a little ditty today with Daniela Bruce, and they just kept talking about roster depth. And it's not going to be the end of the world when this team has a couple of injuries, or it's not going to be something where we're kidding ourselves when somebody gets called up from Grand Rapids and we're like, oh yeah, he's I don't know. He's real good on the power play.
I just wanted to hear where that Muppet voice was going. No, Andrew Copp is already paying off because we wanted to feel like we have a legit team, which we do when we signed him. And he's also letting us get some rookies up there. So, yeah, forget about it. See you in October. Thank you, the artist formerly known as Performance Art, Johnny P. But yeah, this is kind of great news because this might be our shot to see what Berggren looks like in the lineup,
Right. So this is kind of... Now I'm kind of puzzled how I'm going to do this, but I did want to come back to Ken Young here, thrown out there. Stevie mentioned every Atlantic team except Boston today. So, of course, what we're talking about, the press conference, as mentioned earlier in the episode, Steve Yzerman met with media today over Zoom. That was kind of weird. Wasn't everybody in Traverse City? Anyway, everybody except Boston. I mean, that's got to be, we're talking our Brad Marchand and Charlie McAvoy injuries. Aren't they still out? So it's, in a sense, missing approximately 6 months for Brad Marchand, expected to return late November, and Charlie McAvoy early December. So what does Boston look like when they can't put those guys on the ice? And do they have a contract for Pasta? I can't remember where that's sitting. Is he happy with them, or is he getting traded? I don't know. Anyways, I think that's where that's up in the air, and there's a potential if a team might fall, could be Boston with a bad early start. But
I don't think the Pasta man has a deal yet, just so you know.
Just one thing mentioned of the many by Stevie White today, and we'll start with this one. I believe we'll be a better hockey team this year. Expect us to be. Having said that, with a lot of changes, it can take some time for things to settle in. Hopefully that translates to more wins. Woo! Doesn't that make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, Mike? Look, we got a Steve Yzerman today, and I think this is the best quote to pull from this. And we have quite a few quotes we're going to talk about today. But this quote, I think, says it all. This is a man who is not showing his cards in any way, shape, or form. He's keeping everything close to the teeth, and he might be able to confidently say we're better than we were last year. but that also might be an easy feat to reach. But I also think he might, like we've talked about before, like this core isn't necessarily set, and even if he's playing a poker game here of I don't want to pat this team on the back too hard because I've got some huge contracts coming up, so I'm still going to keep them at arm's length, which I think is huge. Or it's just Stevie being Stevie. He never really reveals what's on the mind of Steve Yzerman. Mike, with that being said, what would you think is like, even if it was like 60-40, if it was 51 to 49%, what do you think this is more of? Is a political game in regards to contract negotiations, or is it just Stevie being Stevie? Today on the press conference as a whole, too. It doesn't have to just be this quote.
I mean, this guy's the epitome of sap coming out of a tree. He's very slow. He's very deliberate in his pacing, and I don't think he likes jumping the gun at all. He is a big fan of being pragmatic and patient. With that said, I think he's also pretty excited about this team, and I think he'll be pretty bummed if it doesn't pan out. So I think he's trying to curb his enthusiasm, curb the fans' enthusiasm that, we're probably not going to go 10-0 out of the gate. But when he finally says, I expect us to win more, I think that's about as colorful as we're going to get from Steve. So he basically guaranteed a Stanley Cup playoff run.
I like this one too. Greg Krupa shared this on Twitter. The 2022-23 Detroit Red Wings advancing. Fewer shots against, fewer chances against, fewer goals against. More shots for, more chances for, more goals for. That wins us more games. I like that. I mean, like that. Ultimately, all we ever talk about when our first.
He doesn't give us a damn thing. That's all you get.
Well, I was going to say, when we talk about like the advanced analytics for the sport, that's ultimately where we jump into. So I'm going to say there's two sides of this. It's refreshing to see a GM kind of paint it in that picture and be like, hey, this is what we're looking for. If we have fewer shots against, that means there's fewer chances against. So there's.
He's Bill Belichick. That's what he's doing.
Right. And if he's putting guys on the ice that he thinks he's limiting this many shots and putting this many more shots on the opponent's net, I'm quite a huge fan of that thought process. And ultimately, I mean, that's what this show, the Red Wings Rant, always comes down to, is we always come back to those stats. So it's good to see Steve looking at it. It's, at this point, maybe it's okay to simplify it this way. I think it's a good way to get everybody on board with like advanced analytics, by the way. But yeah, this is the simple science of it, right? And it's kind of like that mentality too of like in Moneyball, when you were trying to get just so many hits, get so many RBIs in a season, and in this sense, you're hoping that he's doubling down that he's going to have a starting goaltender that he can depend on for the year. And then he also thinks he's putting together forward lineups and defensive pairings that can limit shots and also increase the shots being taken. So that's the formula. We'll see if it works. We will see. We have at the end of the show, we have Sean McIndoe's review of the Red Wings offseason. We'll talk about that. So I think we're excited. I think maybe that was the most you're going to get out of Steve Yzerman in regards to like optimism and still being, keeping everything as close to the chest as possible. But across the league, there are some examples of people who are like, so what? And we'll talk about that. All right. We are missing a lot of comments. We're going to take
throw a couple in
pause here. Ace Fishing thrown out there. Bertuzzi's
we haven't heard Ace Fishing in a while. What's up, man?
Yeah, it has been a while, Ace. What's going on? Bertuzzi's trade stock just went up. I think so. Or his agent just bumped up the price. I'm like, I saw that, and when I was searching on Hockey Reference, I wanted to pull up Tyler Bertuzzi, and 62 points in 68 games. If Tyler goes 62 points in 82 games, that's still a pretty good turn-in for the season. I think you still got to pay that guy. So something to keep in mind there, that he's got a lot of wiggle room for a fallback and still needing quite the increase in pay, even at the 5.25. Blake, 1991. I think jumping on the Boston conversation there. Wings
Wow.
will finish third in the division over Florida and Boston. Woo! Woo!
Shots
I mean,
fired at Florida, huh? Woo!
we talk about flexibility. If there's a hint, there's a sniff of any of those playoffs, we have a ton of room to make moves and make this team even more dangerous in the playoffs. And if it comes down to us really wanting to make that push into the playoffs, we're going to have more room to make this team better for that final push too. So it's not just about being better in the playoffs. That final push could be crazy. But again, we have to actually get there. But it's at least fun. Blake, I'm glad that's where your head's at, because I'm not brave like you, Blake. But I'll be damned if I don't go into game one I'm not going to say it out loud, but I'm going to have thoughts like that. And I'm going to keep it at that, so I don't get in any trouble here. I don't want anybody
I've been so conditioned by Yzerman that even if we start out like 9-0, I'll be like, well, it's a slow process. We're just trying to get more chances, try to give up fewer chances. We got a lot of growth to go on this team, and I kind of want to see where we look in about 6 weeks from now. And it's not so much about the wins and losses. It's about trying to get together as a team and get together and see if we can build some chemistry here. And now we're 25-0. That's a nice thing to see. But we got another game. We're playing Columbus on Tuesday, so we'll see how that goes. We got a lot of scouting to do. We got our second period shifts. We're not very tight. Some of our line changes weren't quite as crisp, and now we're 45-0. Well, we'll see. Playoffs are a long way away, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. I know we're up in the standings by about 40 points from the next place team, but we'll see how it pans out.
You got to do that. He likes doing that.
But Matt, let me ask you with Blake. Right now on paper, are we better than Boston?
I think we could beat that Boston team no problem at the start of the season. With all the injuries, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it with Florida yet, but Boston. I think if you want to start doing incremental progress, that should be like one of the first teams that we can leapfrog.
Can I just to kind of because Ace is thrown out there, bold prediction, Blake. Danimal's thrown out there, very bold, and Blake thrown out there. It is time. It's time. It's
Red Wing time.
All right. But to kind of to help Blake out here a little bit, that might be Florida being Florida. If I could be mean for a sec. I mean, come on. Florida falls off the face of the earth. We're gonna be like, yeah, I guess. All right, yeah. Where was I? There was a new comment in here that I wanted to give a shout out to because I didn't recognize the name. It's VA Dead Boy. Yzerman's a man of both many and no words simultaneously. Dead Boy, that is one of the best assessments of Steve Yzerman in his press conferences I've ever read. Congratulations, Dead Boy. You nailed it.
Cliche run-on sentences. That's our hero.
He does go on to say, over Boston, I could see potentially over Florida. The other problem too is you're going to see a team like Ottawa taking steps up. I mean, it's that's the thing of it. We're all building at the same time. So do you put us in first place as the teams that are building right now? Like I said, I think across the league, they're saying like, hey, some effort was put in this offseason, but not enough. But that's fine. I'm excited. Ketzel, he's 20 minutes late. But here he is. What's going on, Ketzel? Glad to have you. Craig says they won't give Bert more than 5 years at $6 million.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm going in reverse. Larkin gets 9.5 at 8 years.
That's a little low. That's a little low, you guys. A little low. I think cap is going to be opening up here in the next couple of years. I think those are kind of low ball estimates.
Ooh, I did throw out there too. I think I might have put this in the show notes, but I did want to talk about like that Nathan McKinnon contract sort of.
Oh yeah.
Now he's I don't know if you want to call it resetting the market, but they're all of the conversations for the first time in a while haven't gotten wrapped into frozen cap. Finally, the conversations have rolled into it's high now, but just think about it in a few years. And I agree with that point. Also, you pay McKinnon whatever the hell he wants. That's a whole nother conversation. But we're not an Avs podcast. But I do think we're gonna eat it on Larkin. I think it's gonna be a juicy one. I had conversations with folks over the last couple of months. I've had numbers in the range of 7 and 8. I think it's gonna go. I think it's gonna go higher.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if he's getting 10 and this cap starts, climbing up towards 90, I mean that's still only a ninth for your best player, and he's still got a lot of peak years ahead of him. I still think 9.5 is a low estimate. I think it starts at was that 8 figures? 8 figures AAV.
No, I will disagree. You can take that. I will disagree. I think Craig is near where my head was at and what I said in the last episode. But I'm not giving him double.
I think if that's what Larkin's agent gets him, he needs a new agent.
All right. I mean,
I think you got to see where the market's going and realize what this Red Wing team, they need you, man.
Here's my thing. The way the market's Sorry, the way the market's going, that's where I took it from the 7/8s, the 8s conversations into the 9s. So I can't put it into the 9s and then also double down on the market increasing so Larks is getting more. That was all right. I already did that. You remember that episode of Flight of the Conchords where they're getting a new contract and the Flight of the Conchords said double it, and then the guy who they're negotiating with was like, I already doubled it before I wrote this down. Oh shoot.
Larkin's at 6.1 right now. Yeah. So you're looking at a raise of what, like a 30. I'm looking at a 33%. You're more at like a 25% raise.
Yeah.
I mean, if he goes out this season and he's a point a night guy, I think that he's going to be getting 10. If he comes out and he gets like 70 points, I think that's where he's more at your number.
That might be then the difference of where our heads are at, because I still see 7, maybe mid 70s, but I don't know. Point per game, I don't know if I'm ready.
Point per game, that would be pretty exciting. We haven't had a player like that since your boy number 13.
And it's not necessarily going to be like his regular 5-on-5 play changing. It's going to be this power play blowing up to, now we have 2 power play units. Oh my God, we're going to have Verana day 1 in a regular season game. Oh my God.
I'm not even going to say that out loud, man. I can't believe you would risk our whole season with that sentence. I would just knock on wood. We'll go out there with who we have out there. I'm not even going to say his name. I don't want to get any boo-boos. I'm just going to keep on walking.
So I'm with Ketzel on this one. Those 100-point players get into the 8 digits. Blake says it doesn't. I like this, Blake. It doesn't matter what Larkin gets when he's on the last 3 years of the contract. The cap will be so much higher. God, Blake's nailing it.
On the other side of the table is Yzerman, the king of swindling. So, he might talk Larkin down to 7.1. But
here's a good point from Danimals.
What do you got?
Larkin stats in the 10 mil range right now? No. However, he's never really had a good team to play with. Maybe he could hit a point per game now.
Yeah, and his line mate had to take a lot of Canadian vacations, last season. So that was kind of tough. Yeah, I think he could get 10. And if they try to lowball him, I think he would find suitors out there who are willing to give him 10. To be a top line center. We saw the production. We saw he could be part of the top 5 scoring lines in the NHL, number 1 lines. So I mean, he's got a resume. He hasn't quite done the point per night performance.
And it was like overall lines, like production and defense. But I'm gonna hit pause, Mike. We're at the 30-minute mark. Everyone, we will be right back. We have some fun coming right at you. The NFL action is in full swing at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Right now, for every leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100%. With payouts bigger than ever, why bet on football anywhere else? To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped-up same-game parlays once per game day all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN to get $200 in free bets if your team wins and you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. If you're a loyal Detroiter like me, you know that we love our local bands and we love them hard. Like Electric Six. Electric Six has power, energy, and the lyrics, and everything instrumental about it. It is Detroit. But the best way to experience that Detroit sound is with my Raycon earbuds. Raycon earbuds look, feel, sound better than ever. If you're a Red Wings fan, God, you got to go with the red ones. Optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. These earbuds are so comfortable, and they will not budge. Trust me on that. Raycons give you 8 hours of playtime, 32-hour battery life. Priced just right, you get quality audio at half the price of some of those other premium audio brands. You know who I'm talking about. It's no wonder Raycon's earbuds have over 50,000 5-star reviews. It's not just that. You've got your customizable sound profiles. You've got the earbud tap functions. Just tapping that little sucker to get you going. Noise isolation and awareness mode. I love that one. You don't want anybody sneaking up on you. So if you are interested in having that premium audio experience, but not the premium price of some of those other brands, go to buyraycon.com today and use code THPN15 to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's code THPN15 at buyraycon.com to score 15% off. Buyraycon.com, code THPN15. I got Ace threw out there. How many times did it take you to nail that DraftKings ad? Nice. I will say, yeah. Only two takes. The Raycon one was one take, and you could tell because I was had a work meeting coming up, and I was like, "Oh, fuck." All right, Eric's
I was about to Martin short you on that one. Wow, one take, no kidding.
Hey, Eric, what's going on? Eric's got 9.25 by 8. That's what Larks is getting. All right, we got
a lot of conservative numbers out there, but let's move on.
Oh my God. All right, we're jumping into our training camp, preview and the prospect tournament wrap up. And we're going to start the conversation, Mike, with Elmer Soderblom. This is actually coming from like a list of Max Boltman's top performances. And throughout there, Soderblom was predictably a load to handle down low, protecting the puck. And you saw his very good hands and reach, but it was his passing that impressed me the most. I don't think I had previously seen playmaking as a part of his game, but he had 3 assists in 3 games at the tournament, and his overall sense was noteworthy. Mike, that's your boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy making some big boy plays. I like that a lot. I got a little extra taste of him too. He's on that little Tim Hortons sponsored Carly interview show that I was suggested I watch. And guys, I got a big question for you. Does anybody in the NHL, player-wise, have a personality? Because add Soderblom to that list of Mr. Dullard out there. He did have some cool things that came out. They were asking, because it's Tim Hortons sponsored, so they asked, hey, what do you do? It's called like a coffee It's a Swedish pika or something. Swedish pika, I think. And he's like, oh, yes, it's a coffee and a sweet. So coffee and a sweet. I like that in Sweden. He's got a brother. Obviously, you guys know playing for the Hawks, but he's got an amazing sister. And
Ooh.
unfortunately, he has a nickname of the mailman. Maybe the most boring NBA superstar of all time. And when they asked him why he goes by the mailman, he said, I don't know, my mom came up with it. So not the most colorful guy, but he was very excited when Lucas Raymond walked in the room and they gave a really nice, loving hug. And then Lucas went to go practice some more, and you could see poor Elmer sink into his chair because he knew his friend was not going to be there for the rest of the interview. But yeah, he I'll say the language barrier, right, probably holds him back a little bit, but
I mean, personality among all hockey players, as you mentioned, and we always talk about, it's sort of tough. But at least he kind of laughed through the interview a little bit. Ketzel thrown out there. Soderblom's pass to Cross on that breakaway was peak hockey. Not Meat thrown out there. He's making the big club. I do want to throw out there real quick. We're going to get to Edvinsson. Ace, I saw your question. Edvinsson, sandbagging or no? We're going to talk about what Steve said, but based on what Steve said, I feel like Edvinsson was kind of like, I got this. I'm good. But who doesn't have it yet, who doesn't have a spot yet, is Elmer. So, Mike, as Ketzel pointed out, that
can I just say, let me say something about Elmer.
God,
when we hear about him, right? This 6'8" giant. There's we were already kind of learning about, oh, look at Cossa. He's like too big to be a goalie, right? So then you're kind of like bracing yourself, like what's Elmer gonna look like as a forward? How fast he's not gonna be quick because his stride is too long. But for him to already be making hockey plays, hockey passes leading to points, and being able to use his big body in front of the net, it's so exciting for me to think, my God, this guy, he can already see like a path to having a job in the NHL, and it looks like he's already trying to like harness skills. They're going to keep him employed at the NHL level. So I was just very excited for what was obviously not a very long tournament, but still pretty exciting. I know, man.
I went forward to the next slide and I was reading it. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I pulled that up on YouTube too. I'm an ass. Anyway, we all know that. But this was my highlight of the tournament because we all want to talk about Elmer and his offensive side. But this is Elmer playing the point, completely shutting down this play for Columbus. So this is what I couldn't wait to see, was the stick play of a 6'8" guy and that huge stick he gets to carry around compared to everybody else. But as we play through this is a short clip, but he shuts it down quickly. This guy just doesn't know what to do. And when he eventually gets the shot off, it is way outside because Elmer's such a big frame. And he's aggressive too. This is him going right at the puck, trying to end this play. Look at that. Couple of pokes in on the puck as well. Mike, oh boy. Whew. If we want to come back to not Meat thrown out there, he's making the big club. Those are the types of things that need to happen 100% of the time during the preseason games when he gets a shot for us to see him on the big club. But for sure, it's not going to be long if those.
I can't say it enough that I was so worried that it was going to be gimmicky, and he would go out there and look like Boban Marjanovic on the Pistons, where it's just this big goober, and it's kind of, you clap almost sarcastically because he's just going to get burned on defense. And I don't, I go ahead and accuse me of hyperbole, but he looked more like Hanas and less like Marjanovic. So it just, if he's going to play defense and make plays on offense, my God, sky's the limit for this guy. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. We always talk about it. Actually, for the other podcasts we used to have too. You put yourself in these situations. I'm talking about the Pro Wrestling Podcast. And sometimes they're easy to walk through, but or easy to get through or easier. So like in this situation, what we're talking about, it's a prospect tournament. Elmer is not playing against, NHL level talent, not across the board.
Right.
Ketzel throws out there. Let's not forget that's Johnson, Columbus's at least at the top of the list for Columbus. So he's making a play there. But it always seems like there's two options. It's either going to go great, or it's not going to go so great. And then where do you go from there? And we kept talking about in the preview to the prospect tournament, we needed guys that just didn't go in the negative. And Elmer had a great time. We had a great, those types of plays where he just looked like I'm shutting this thing down, or I'm going to own this, or I'm going to go out in front of the net and do a backward shot while I move my rump around. I mean, it was all gravy for me. This is exactly what you wanted to see. And again, to the argument, it was just the prospect tourney. That's fine, but it could have gone the other way. It could have been Sebastian Cossa from last year. Of course, we'll talk about Cossa.
Who also had a really nice Traverse City.
Yeah. Before we get there, Cross Hanas showed both the physicality and skill. Played hard, produced offense over the course of 3 games, finishing with 2 goals and 2 assists. Detroit played Hanas and Soderblom together. Mike, you're gonna see them in Grand Rapids. I like this little ditty that Max Boltman threw out there. He always thought of Soderblom having the scoring touch and then Cross having sort of like the playmaking ability. And he did like that this entire tournament just went the opposite way. So I think what we're getting out of that is just knowing that these guys, we've got hockey players. We've got guys that we showed Soderblom playing tremendous defense on the point there. And then these guys, they call themselves, Hanas is calling himself playmaker in this quote here that I pulled up. Can I read the whole thing? I like making plays, setting guys up. That's kind of what I find joy in. Been like that my whole life. And then what's he doing? He's taking breakaway goals from Elmer Soderblom. These beautiful passes from Soderblom and putting them away. And Mike, how about a guy who's getting breakaway chances and just puts him in the back of the net? No problem. 2 for 2. Light him up. But it's good to see. You have these ideas of these guys, and we talked about it. And again, prospect tournament, I know, things could have gone the other way. But, we had the same idea with Lucas Raymond that we were getting a playmaker. And I went back and watched that first game for Lucas last year, and when he was whipping pucks in the back of the net. And then we saw him do it in the preseason. And then we saw him do it in the regular season. So let's embrace. Let's be happy. This is going great.
That's I think that's my only problem with Yzerman is that he gets so like patient and pragmatic that when there's moments like this, you kind of like temper your like enthusiasm, and you want to be like, yeah, all these guys are gonna pan out, woo, yeah, like you want to be excited for Elmer, so it was encouraging stuff. I would almost want to save that DVD just in case none of these guys pan out, so I could still watch that summer that was in 2022.
Yeah, we've got a couple shout outs. Danimals thrown out there. Zone entries were impressive. I believe this came out while we were talking Elmer, is when Danimals threw it out there. Ketzel thrown out there. The fact he can push the puck out of the defense's reach and dance around him and collect it himself is absurd. Okay, we're definitely talking about Elmer on that one. Decent skater on a small ice will be his advantage. I like that.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Matt. What, because I feel like your brain's going to be a little bit better for this. What is going to be the difference between our beloved 6'8" Elmer and who I think is 6'6" Rasmussen?
Oh, well, when we drafted Rasmussen, the knock on him was his skating, and then we just spent all of last season making fun of Rasmussen and his skating abilities, which it's gotten better, but it's still, he looks like a big guy skating, and Soderblom looks like you photoshopped him. Like Photoshop isn't the right one because we need like the video Photoshop, but it looks like,
how about you deep fake him?
Yeah, it looks like you just overlaid a normal size hockey player, the way he moves and skates and plays the puck. It looks like you just put one over like a a scaled down rink. Like that's how good he looks, and I like it.
Doesn't
Like
he,
that's the thing that.
Doesn't he look like a creative player, like from
Yeah.
NHL a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Like he still has like a 89 for speed, but he's also the tallest you can possibly make a guy.
By the way, we talked about EA Sports earlier. They
Yeah.
ranked their top speeds in the game, and I still don't. I will hate this about sports games forever, but it doesn't make sense that they don't have guys that have like 100 for speed. What are we saying? Like, is the guy the fastest guy in the league or not? I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
By the way, I'm excited to
always
see if they
bothers me.
ever update the one wide receiver for the Lions who we found out could run 25 miles an hour.
That's true.
Take a sustained 25 miles an hour, and somehow he'll still be like an 89. Like, what are we judging? Anyway, go ahead.
So we mentioned earlier, was he? I think that was Ace that threw that out there. Was Edvinsson sandbagging? But we got a couple. Oh boy! But we got this quote.
Right, is that how you turn into Ken Cal?
Yeah.
Awesome.
But Yzerman said he thinks Simon Edvinsson has a good chance to make the team.
Yeah, we're good.
That's not good. Okay.
Yeah,
he can't guarantee he'll be in the lineup opening night, but he didn't like what he saw from Edvinsson during the prospect tournament. But here's the quote from Steve. Most importantly, I want him playing a significant role. I want him to be in the top 6, playing games, and I'd like to see him participating in special teams in some form. And if that's not the case, we'll decide where to go from there. Mike, how many times did we pull up our cap-friendly depth chart so far in this offseason and say there's absolutely plenty of space for Edvinsson, especially coming out of the left side, and there's most assuredly space somewhere on our power play units and our penalty kill units if he wants to give if he's going to go all around just like Seider did last year. Competition right now, some would say the overpaid Ben Sherratt, Olimata, and Osterley. Wallman and Pysyk injured.
Listen, I'm very excited for Elmer, but we have enough depth where I can be patient and be like, I want to see Elmer get really good in Grand Rapids and then call him up. But defensively, I still think as much as we invested in the offseason, there's still a lot of holes, roughly 5 of them. So 5 out of the top 6, you could easily find some replacement level guys. And I think Edvinsson, man, if you had your head screwed on like Elmer, who's just, annihilating people, making plays offensively, being a gigantic, mastodon-sized problem for people trying to score on the Red Wings. And it's like, I don't even know how good Cossa is because all the shots were garbage because of how much Soderblom was in the way, taking away all the good angles. But anyway, I digress. I just like Edvinsson, dude. If you were just like a B- right now, you'd be on the first or second pairing immediately. So I guess it is a little, you can't rush these things. Everybody's kind of got a different timeline. But man, as excited as I am for Elmer, I wish that we were saying that about Edvinsson and be like, cool. All right, now that he's called up, now we kind of have a formidable defense. But instead, if you're not ready to crack this top 6, it's a little bit of a bummer. I know it's early, but just a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. So it's almost like going back to that sandbagging question. Does he kind of have himself written in there? But the more I look at this and the injuries and what we've got rolling out there, what did we always say? Yzerman, our favorite quote from Steve when he was making all those signings 2 off seasons ago, and they're asking him about who he's bringing in, and maybe they didn't have the best track record, and Steve said, "Gotta ice a team. Gotta put somebody out there." And I'm confident with Ben Sherratt. I'm confident with Olimata. But once that list becomes Ben Sherratt, Olimata, Jordan, Osterley, the left side is clearly your weaker side of the two, and you got a 6'6" guy ready to go. Throw him in there. Let him learn. He's going to get the minutes because I don't think he's getting a lot of competition. All of those words from Steve Yzerman, more or less play against Benny Boy, Olimata, and Jordan Osterley than they do saying good things for Edvinsson. But the good thing for Edvinsson, he will be on this team the opening night. I guarantee it. Unless he's injured. All right. And the other reason, I thought this was neat. I don't remember who asked this in the press conference today.
Yeah.
But I thought this was an interesting part of that press conference where they were like, do you kind of need Edvinsson to make the Red Wings? Because the Griffins defensive unit right now is Brian Lashoff, Steven Kampfer, Donovan Sabrango, Jared McIsaac, Seth Barton, Emil Vero, Albert Johansson, Wyatt Newpower, and there's possibly Simon Edvinsson. Just right now.
Yeah.
Right now, it's at 9. And that's if Edvinsson doesn't make the move up. So, I mean, something's got to give. So I think that's going to play into it too. And if you're talking about Edvinsson needing to play games, and there's a spot for him, and you and I could easily look at this roster. Jordan Osterley, he does not need games. 30 years old. I'm fine. We're good. We've seen enough. But there's so many guys on this list we just mentioned also need those games. So they are not going to take a back seat when there's an opportunity to organize this properly and make sure everybody's getting that ice time. So there, I said it.
No, you're making a good point. I don't know if the Griffins want to go 9 deep on the bench during the games just so we can get some minutes for these guys. So it's funny. What's funny is that there's more minutes available at the NHL level than there are for the Griffins. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, this is a tough roster to crack. If you want minutes, man, we got nobody up at the NHL level, so just get called up. It almost seems like one of these guys is going to make it by default. And I think some of our smart listeners were saying that it might be, Johansson, it might be Sabrango, just potentially somebody not Edvinsson, and that's not impossible. This is a pretty exciting group.
Well, Ketzel throws out there he thinks Eddie needs that year in Grand Rapids, so that could be how the cookie crumbles. Stick Eddie down there. You're going to give him those top pairing minutes, give him power play and penalty kill time. And then maybe you feel like Albert Johansson, who how old is our boy? Oh God. I hate going through this stuff when I'm not ready. Who's 21 right now. So he's got a few months on top of how many, oh God, why am I doing this? Why am I doing math? All right. He's got more than 24 months. Jesus Christ. All right. I'm a dumb piece of shit.
Yeah, that's 19.
Why did I play that dumb game? Why? Nobody needed to hear that. Anyway,
but you just wanted to expose yourself. That's fine.
I don't know why I did that. But if you feel like that experience, those couple extra years for Albert are going to fit better with where this defense is at, are going to fit better with being shoved into a third pairing. If you're pretty sold on Olimata and Ben Sherratt, then yeah, maybe Albert Johansson was eventually going to be your third pairing defenseman, a solid third pairing defenseman. And you're like, all right, let's slot him in there. Anywho, we got plenty more to talk about, and we're at 54 minutes. So,
let's throw some more comments in there if you can. Get Cossa in there, and then we'll do the comments because he had a really good TC.
Yeah, and what we're pulling up here, we have the quotes from Steve Yzerman today, and then we actually had Max Boltman for The Athletic, along with the rest of the writers that were watching these different prospect tournaments across the league to call out a player from each team. And this was Max's call out, and I thought well-deserved. For Cossa, he stopped 33 of 34 shots, including some tough ones with the pads. He's big, athletic, and looked in control. He was a clear-cut top goaltender at the tournament. It'll be really interesting to see blah, 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 blah. But we know he struggled so much last year. And to see this turnaround and see a Cossa that looked confident, ready to go, and just shut his opponent down. Whew, man, was that fun. Especially with all the pushback we got over the summer with Cossa being a bust. I'm glad Cossa had a good prospect tourney. But Yzerman, his quote: "We want him to be good." Similar to Edvinsson here. We want him to be in a good environment and playing a lot. I can't tell you today where that is. We're going to let the process play itself out. It starts with training camp, blah, 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 blah. Let him get in some preseason games, and then just one step at a time, decide what level he's ready for and what level he's going to play a lot. And I believe I might have pulled it up, but that's where the conversation of going back to deep rosters, that Grand Rapids Griffins goalie, I think we're 4 goalies deep right now. So if you're talking about where the minute's going to come from, well, then he's probably going back to the juniors. But if you really want him to be tested, right, then you want him to go to the AHL, because I feel like this tournament was sort of like the capper for Cossa and junior level players. And it's time for him to graduate. And the only problem, again, going back to the problem there, is there going to be enough room?
Yeah, that's the problem, Steve. You've drafted too many players. Now they're too good, and we can't get rid of any of them, and there's too many. This guy doesn't know what he's doing.
I think the list is Bratstrom, Oli Kanyora, Cossa would be on there, and then I'm not sure if it is. Maybe you guys can help me out in the chat if it's going to be Jan Bednash that's going to be getting that spot, or if there's another name that's getting slid in there. But anyway. Oh, we are getting some good mentions here that maybe Cossa is going to Toledo from Not Meat. Jim Johnson throws that out there. I don't hate it, but I wonder if maybe one of those other names we mentioned would be headed there instead of Cossa. I feel like I'd want to see Cossa in the AHL and maybe demote him if it's not going great. But I feel good enough after that tournament. Give it a go. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the Red Wings brass are a little more excited about Cossa than the rest of us, and that's only because we're so fickle. And he's like, oh, he had one game, he's a bust. Oh, he played pretty good in Traverse City, he's a Hall of Famer. I for some reason I kind of feel like he wants to see what he looks like playing with his new gigantic defensemen and gigantic forwards in Grand Rapids. To kind of get a real feel for, like this might be your future anyway. So let's kind of see what you look like with, all the, to even bring it back again, like the second time we're going to reference Moneyball, like when there were all those disputes in the movie when they were talking about the, the GM and the manager of the team, like in the clubhouse, had a dispute about how they want to play the team. And it's like, they're not going to win unless you deploy them the way I want you to deploy them. So the easiest way for Yzerman to do that might be to just make a really stacked Grand Rapids roster and let these guys figure it out.
I mean, that's a good point. Ace thrown out there. One of the names I was forgetting, Oki and Ketzel thrown out there that listed. The goalies listed for training camp, only John Lethamon is signed to Grand Rapids right now, which is scary because the list that I saw earlier did not include John. So, oh boy, there could be, it could be tough to get some minutes. I saw Irvin throw out there. Yes. Is he still eligible to go back to the WHL? I think this would be his last season. But again, the question mark there. What does that do for him at this point? We saw him actually even take a step back. But I think he can. I'm going to say I think. I can't say for sure. I'm actually stealing that, idea from Max Boltman, who threw that out as one of the options for Cossa. All right. What else do we have left on this list? Oh, right. So now not only we talked about the prospect tourney, but that press conference today. Mike, we had Zadina. Look, this is a long quote for Zadina, and you could look at it a couple of ways.
Did you get to record Yzerman clear his throat before he said all this?
I mean, that's kind of where I'm leaning. Like, was Yzerman talking himself into it? But anyway, I don't think he was. He did lean on the fact that he is a super hard worker, and that's what his staff talks about when it comes to Zadina. But I did like that he spoke to Zadina himself, and he put in this quote here: "I've got to produce. I've got to produce." Like that's what Zadina's got in his head. And what Steve told Zadina: ultimately, if you do all the other things well, the pucks will go in the net for you. And that's speaking to Zadina's just all around skill that we've heard Yzerman talk about before. If you've got the skill to put it in the back of the net, it'll come. But Steve, again, not giving up on Zadina. If that 3-year contract didn't do it for you and this press conference didn't do it for you, I don't know. And Zadina
Yeah, this is
has,
some real like Mr. Miyagi by Yzerman. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like having all this confidence in him, and then not just putting, literally putting his money where his mouth is, and giving him a 3-year deal to be like, I still have faith in you. I know that you're pressing, and I think you know that you're pressing. And what if I just tell you, look, we trust you, man. It's gonna happen. We trust you so much. We're not giving you a 1 year or 2 year, just 3 years. Figure it out, man. It's all right. And that guy, it's got to be like Mike's Secret stuff, like in Space Jam, like that. I would be shocked if he has a crappy year. Shocked.
I want to come back to the comments here real quick because we're hitting an hour and then we got to run through our last couple of quotes. Dan B, hot take. Cossa tears it up in the AHL, leading to Ned being traded to Toronto for Nylander when their goaltending implodes. Ketzel, I don't hate that. And I like Ned. And I like, this is where I'm at from Not Me. That would be nuts, Dan, but I like. That would be great. I mean, yeah, I think half of this could happen. And it would be kind of fun. But if we're talking about Cossa tearing it up in the AHL, that's all I need to have happen. But yeah, the rest of that would be crazy. All right, so we got some more quotes here. Steve was happy that somebody brought up Berggren because he talked about how hard he worked. But I think what this comes down to too is going to be roster spots. And like we talked about, if Kopp is being labeled as coming back the first week of the season and not being, it sounds weird, right? It's not back the first game. It's back the first week. So if there's a couple of games, I don't know, that need to be filled in, maybe there's a shot for Berggren there. But Steve was a huge fan. He's worked really hard, very happy with his attitude and determination. And we'll see how he does here in the preseason. But it's one for all of us to follow closely. Very nice. Oh, well, this is the negative one. I don't know if we want to pull off the negative aspect of this show, where the national side of the media, international, he's Canadian, takes a shot at the Wingdings. But we have it an hour here. I'm getting sleepy. Mike, any thoughts on the Berggren comment there? I just kind of feel like Berggren's already shown us a ton. Maybe it really is just wait and see at this point. And the fact that Steve can talk about him and he likes him, that's all good.
If you want to feel confused about a Red Wing prospect, just read about Jonatan Berggren, because it feels like this guy's literally accomplished everything you can, like below the NHL level. And I honestly don't know what he has to do or what they want to see before they give him a real shot. So if he's not making the team this year, what are we doing? Like at that point, it's time to trade him because he's already proven it. So either give him a main roster spot, or I guess you move on because I don't know what we're waiting for, man. It's weird stuff. So they pat him on the back. They talk about his work ethic. He's producing. It's baffling stuff. I don't know what else you need.
We talked earlier about Edvinsson. I do like the phrase or the word sandbagging it. And we're also in the same vein going
this
like,
guy's been apple bagging it by banging his apples around everybody in the minors.
And so like Edvinsson's got a spot. And then on the flip side, Berggren has, to your point, has done everything, has a good attitude. And then
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So there's things that they've seen, right, in these players that they're like, yeah, that guy's ready for the NHL. And that's what they're waiting for. So to the point earlier where we said Steve talks a lot and he talks very little. Speaks a lot, speaks very little.
I mean,
That's
if,
it right
if
there.
Edvinsson puts in a modicum of effort, he's going to immediately be our second best defenseman. Berggren has to bust his ass for the next 20 years to maybe play one shift in a second period in a regular season game. I don't know what he's got to do.
Yeah, it's really
That's
weird.
why it's why I'm a little afraid that if you have a baseball memory and you remember Jacob Turner, that they're kind of like, ooh, this guy's never going to be an NHL player. Let's keep the mystique on him and we'll keep him in the minors, and then we'll sucker some other team with the trade. That's my honest opinion of him, because I don't know what else they want to see from him to be a Red Wing.
Well, I like this comment heading towards the end of the show. I'd like to see Ernie
Yeah.
and Smith get waived. Ketzel says they'd have to be at this point. Irvine, again, Irvine, we mentioned you earlier in the show. I can't remember if we've brought up your comments before, but welcome aboard.
Yeah, I think that's a new name. What's up, Irvine?
I remember Ferk was hyped up because of his wicked shot. He did have a wicked shot, but never hit the net. I got to see him with the Wings when they came to Winnipeg, and then he finishes it off. I hope Zadina isn't another Ferk. I mean, me too. I think it's
Don't
something
you
that
think the Red Wings have more faith in Zadina already, though? Because I don't remember Ferk getting a multi-year deal.
That's a good point. And with the words they're speaking to, I mean, that's got to count for something, even though they're just words. But we've seen words plus action. So, and we've seen it too in the advanced analytics. We saw half a season where Zadina was one of the top performing forwards in the league when it came to a two-way game. So you're playing that eventually the floodgates are going to open. I don't know if that's where Steve's coming from, where he's like, you get those little things down and eventually the pucks will start going in, or not. And you get a good, solid defensive forward. I don't know if that's the worst thing in the world. Ketzel, Steve is just trying to see what else to get rid of before Berggren gets that shot. All right, Mike. It's 1 hour 7 minutes in.
We're always trying to set new records. I know.
Jim's got a question. Your thoughts? Sorry, your thoughts going after Sandin if Leafs cannot sign him. My thoughts are positive and kind of lean towards. Well, the problem is, right? We've just spent a whole episode talking about roster problems and finding spots for guys. But I don't mind the exploration at all.
I don't hate it, but I'm gonna get greedy. I think we can really shoot for the stars with this cap space, so I'm willing to wait a little bit. And if you're still gonna think about, man, the Red Wings are like 9 deep on defense in Grand Rapids. They don't even have room for guys like Berggren. They're sitting on these picks that are gonna start losing their value as the team gets better. They're not gonna be, high odds top of the draft picks. I mean, you can start reading the articles about trade rumors, because you have the cash, the cachet, and the cash to acquire guys. So that's where it's going to get really interesting.
All right, thanks for the question, Jim. Everybody, yeah. Eric, see ya. Irvine, thanks for coming aboard. Ketzel, my man. Ace Fishing, it's good to have you back today, buddy. Not me. I think I said Jim Johnson already.
Yep.
Blake, it's good to have you again. Danimals, it's been a while. And Charlie. Oh no, we didn't even pull up Charlie's comment. Charlie, I hope you stuck around for the whole show. Sorry, I missed your comments. We missed Justin Shields' comments too. All right, everybody, thanks for coming aboard. Sorry if I missed calling you out here. But we're headed out, and you guys have a great. Do we say have a great training camp? That's weird, right? Enjoy the training camp and the preseason. We'll see you guys next week. Doodles.